My point is, it's just more fun to talk about the conspiracy theory than the conspiracy theory actually being true. Because the thing that makes the NBA conspiracy theory so much funnier is the fact that the NBA does so much to show us that it is not rigged year in and year out, and yet we still have these conversations about whether or not the lottery is rigged. Let's take a step back here, okay? First off, do I think the lottery is rigged? No. And the main reason why I think the lottery is not rigged is because it would get out, especially in the year 2025, where everyone does something for clout. Anyone who thinks they have a fragment of actual information that could go viral, they're going to put it out there. They're going to sell it to TMZ. They're going to sell it to World Star or Academics Pod or whatever. The reality is, if the draft lottery was rigged, it would get out. There's no way that would be able to be held as a secret. That's the first reason why I don't think that it's rigged. But I do still think it's very fun to talk about. So let's rewind here, okay? Because there's so many other things that have to happen here for the Mavs to actually get the number 1 overall pick and have it be rigged. So first off, okay, people are saying, because the conspiracy theory goes back to people thinking the league forced the Mavs to trade Luka to the Lakers because NBA ratings were down. First off, this whole NBA ratings thing is a myth. TV ratings, period, are down. Grey's Anatomy, which is still on for like its 20 whatever season, doesn't do the same numbers now as it did 10 years ago because ratings on TV, period, are down. Right? The only thing I think that's still close that holds a fort is the NBA or is the NFL, pardon me. And that's just really because the NFL is holding fort, right? It's holding court. It's like you're not losing because the NFL just becomes more and more popular with gambling, with fantasy sports and all that. You're seeing things go up a tick, right? They're talking about like, oh, NHL ratings look like they're up. Baseball ratings look like they're up. It's like, that's because you're putting those things on more now because every TV station has realized live sports wins. So you're going to get more national games. But anyways, this is where that conspiracy theory starts, okay? The league forced the Mavs to trade Luka to the Lakers. That's insane. That didn't happen. That doesn't even make any sense. But let's run with that. And let me say, okay, I buy into that. And for giving up Luka, they then told the Mavs, you know what? We're going to give you Cooper Flag for you trading away Luka. We're going to gift you Cooper Flag in the draft. For all of that to be true, okay? We do realize that the Mavs almost made the playoffs, right? Like they were in the play-in, okay? If they beat Memphis, they're in the playoffs and not in the lottery. So they can't get the first overall pick because you're not in the lottery. Notice how Memphis wasn't in the lottery, right? That's for one. 2, was part of this whole narrative that also Kyrie was going to get hurt, Gafford was going to get hurt, Lively was going to get hurt. All of these players were going to get hurt to have them even fall close to being in the lottery anyways. Because if those guys don't get hurt, the Mavs are still in the playoff, in the thick of the playoffs in the Western Conference. So you also don't get Cooper Flag then. But then on top of that, they end the season with the exact same record as the Chicago Bulls. Okay? If you remember, late in the season, the Chicago Bulls had one of the craziest finishes ever where Josh Giddey hits a half-court shot to win the game. That means the Bulls and Mavs finish with the same record, and they have to do a coin flip to decide who gets the 11th pick, who gets the 12th pick. So the coin flip happens. You find out that the Mavs win the coin toss, which I guess you're going to tell me the coin toss was also rigged as well, right? So they get the 11th pick, and they end up winning the NBA draft lottery. I'm laughing at this because like all of this, you can't rig all of this. For you to be able to pull all of this off is impossible. Then add in the fact that every single year, whether it's Zach Lowe, Chris Mannix, Mark Stein, you have reputable journalists each and every year that are in the room for when they do the draft lottery. So does that mean that all those people are in on it as well? Because I would think that if one of those people were in the room, the biggest story that they could break in their career is that the NBA draft lottery is rigged. No? I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. Okay, so let's get through that. In this era where we just listen to clips like this that I'm probably going to post online too, so I'm not knocking the hustle. But when you listen to the actual stories that these reporters come out and they tell us about what happened in said draft lottery room, you have representatives from all the teams there also watching. You have journalists in there also watching. And how the lottery actually works. I think it was it Chris Mannix I was watching break this down, but he explained, so, there's 4 numbers that get pulled and the order of those numbers represent a certain team. And so you need to basically have, it's an actual lottery. Your 4 lottery numbers come up and you win. That's how this works. That's how you need this to work. You need your 4 numbers to come up and you win. The way that they actually have it is the balls are, you've seen the lottery balls in the machine and the air's bouncing all the balls around and then someone hits a button and a ball pops out. He explained the way that it actually works is there's a guy standing with his back turned to said machine. He is a stopwatch, and every 10 seconds, he puts his hand up, and when he puts his hand up, that's when they draw another ball. So then you hit the button, the ping pong balls that are just randomly going on in this machine stop, and a ball pops out. How do you rig that? One ball's heavier than the other. Like, I don't know. That's a lot. Again, the amount of people that would have to be involved I'm not saying that it's impossible. Again, the biggest reason why I don't think it's rigged is because it would get out. Too many people would have to know about all of these things that you needed to go right for you to rig the lottery. So again, no, I don't think it's rigged. But I do think it's fun to talk about. And I do also acknowledge that that's why the NBA is the NBA, because we get storylines like this that are just funny and give you a news cycle for a couple of days. It's fun to talk about. It's different than any other league. And listen, maybe I'd be more salty. Like, I don't mind the whole like Mavs getting Cooper Flag. I think that's a good place for him to go. I do kind of like when a good player in the draft ends up not on a trash team. Meaning like there's vets around to help you, like everything's not just going to be on your shoulders to try to like drag the Washington Wizards out of obscurity. Right. But there's so much talk about, okay, is the lottery fair? Should the lottery be weighted as it is? Because the bottom 3 teams with the highest lottery odds, you only have a 14% chance of winning. Should those odds be higher for you being such a bad team? I say no. It should be more of a lottery. And hell, it's called a lottery for a reason. But the point remains, you shouldn't be rewarded for continuously being trash. And I also like the fact that, I think it was Bomani that pointed this out, but it was understanding the difference between the draft is the system that they created to try to add parity in terms of young talent being distributed to the bad teams. That's why the draft exists. The lottery exists to stop tanking. Those are 2 things that I think we all agree should not be in the sport. Tanking is the absolute worst thing for your sport. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to support that. Nobody wants to put their money into that. So if these teams still choose to tank, That's on them.